So here we have our brand new spark plugs. Need to gap. Okay, so we've got our spark plugs here, and we've got a feeler gauge, and they should be between 0.5 and 0.6 millimeter. So this one's 0.5, and there's a little bit of friction there, so that's good. And this one feels a little bit loose, but then if we put the 0.6 won't go in there. So we know it's between those two, which is exactly what we want. So these can slot in here. Now let's just get the torque wrench settings on these. These are 19 to 21. So get our torque wrench again. So we'll go 20 foot-pounds in the middle. And actually we won't, we'll go 19. Don't want to over tighten them. Can always go more, can't go less. Then we have, I believe this is the right one. It is. So this is a proper socket for spark plugs. I need my adapter, which is here. My cat's joining me in the background, so apologies about the meowing. Okay, now we're just gonna tighten this slowly until we get 19 foot-pounds. Here we go, and tighter. There we go, that's one. Now the second. Second one. This has a rubber housing, so it makes it sit nicely on there, and that's what stops it coming out off as easily as you would like. So I've fitted this bracket on here for the dynamo to sit on. It's got 4 13 bolts, nuts, fit onto the threads here, so that's nicely on now as well. The next thing we're going to do is attach our alternator to our powder coated tinware. So we're looking for this piece of tinware here, and the alternator is going to sit across those 2 brackets there. It goes, yep, it will. Where are we here? Trying to orientate myself a little bit. It's like that, isn't it? There we go. So this will be somewhere here. So the alternator wants to go on there, and the bolts on the alternator want to sit at the top. So that's the next job. Alternator on here, these are what size are these? 10s, I think. Just gonna nip these up nice and tight. Okay, that's on in the right orientation. Now we can look at this side. Now on here we have a wood rough key, hopefully you can see that, just in there. And if we take the original fixings here, so we've got this kind of spacer, which is kind of squared, I don't know if you call that squared, but a unique shape on this side, and on this side you can see the slot for the wood rough key in there. So I want to orientate it down in this direction. And just, trouble is you put it on and the wood rough key just wants to move slightly, so just need to make sure we line it up. Where is it? There we go, that's over. And then normally the fan is a very thin fan on these, and then you kind of have a dome that sits on the top of that. We don't have that here. What we have is a new aluminium fan which has a seat which goes over there like that, and we can see that it spins nicely, doesn't catch anywhere. And then this comes with a unique kind of spacer which sits on that, which doesn't actually leave us much thread. I've had a look at fitting it that way, but I don't think, it doesn't kind of grip it that way. So, and it came with sellotape on in that orientation, so it leads me to assume that that is the way it should be. Trying it with a nut, I've tried this piece of kind of brass both ways, and it does appear that it should be this way, because otherwise when it's the other way the fan moves around. But this nut is too big to go on here. It's it's on the floor now, but it's one of the ones with the nylon locking piece on it, nylon locking nut I think they're called. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use a normal nut, but I am going to use some lock thread on here, and then I'm going to tighten it up with my air impact wrench as tight as I can get it. On the standard fans as well, you often have like a little piece of fabric on here touching the fan plate, and like a kind of fabric gasket, and one on the other side as well. Because I've got so little thread here to play with, I'm not going to put a gasket in. It just is going to decrease the amount of thread that we've got on there. So I'm going to take this out to the garage really quickly, get the impact wrench with some thread lock, put a new nut on this, and come back. So back from the garage, spins nicely, it's done up nice and tight. It's pulled this piece in slightly, but it's giving it a nice grip. It's reasonably kind of pretty much maxed out on that thread as much as we can, so we should be good now to assemble the rest of the tinware. So we have got our tinware here. Now I've taken the other side as well, and I've put in a couple of the bolts loosely just to make sure that it all goes into place first. So there we have it situated. Now, before I attach all this up, I'm just going to put in 2 bolts at the top here to get it all aligned first, and then we can start going around and putting it all together. Got these 13 bolts here. These will go in. That's good. Got the other side as well. I'm not going to do those up tight yet because I want to make sure that I have enough room to move it about slightly if we need to, and if I do it up really tight then that's never the case. Should be able to put in the 2 either side here as well. Going in. I need to get myself a ratchet to put that in a second. I'll do the one this side as well, hoping this goes in a bit easier. 13 on a ratchet and see if we can help it home. Again, not going to tighten it up all the way, give it, go around and nip them up towards the end. Okay. So this isn't moving anywhere now. I can take this bolt back out and we'll get some washers in here. So these are all 10s. So we'll leave that on there for now. Before we go any further as well, we'll just test fit the other pieces we've got. Just won't quite slide on with it. Oh, there we go. Just a little bit of help there. Okay, so again, I mean, this is why we test fit, because I just remembered that these bits are meant to go in here first. So we need to get back with our 13s. And take these back out. I'll lose our washer. Okay, so what I'm putting on this side, don't know whether you just about see that, is one of these. It's for if you're using crane to lift the engine, one goes each side there, and that's meant to be on there, and I forgot about that. So that's going to help us secure this and stop it going into the engine block or rubbing against the tinware too much, as we were just experiencing a minute ago. There we go, that's better. Okay. Right. Looks like it's all lining up a bit better now. Take this in a bit again. Push this out a bit too far. Managed to get that in there now, nice and tight. All the holes kind of align. So we should be good to start fitting this all together. And yeah, tighten everything up. Ready to go. So, got a couple of the bolts in. And when I turn it, I can clearly hear the fan scraping somewhere on the cowling. So I'm probably going to have a look at that, but what I'm going to do first is just put together some of these things tight so we can see what it would be like when it was done up, and then we can judge whether it's rubbing and where it's rubbing. Okay, so now we've got quite a few of the screws in. I mean, it's not done up tight yet, but oh no, it's still got a little bit. Really? Go, we don't. As soon as we bring these two together, it could be alright. It's very marginal, very marginal. The more we can move it this way, the better, I think. So I've done it up and now it really rubs quite badly, so I'm going to have to take the panel off again, see where it's rubbing, and see whether I can maybe shave a little bit off the fan in the areas where it's rubbing. I think that's going to be the easiest way of doing this. I might unbalance the fan very, very marginally, but I don't think that should be the problem in the world. Obviously rubbing would be a bigger problem if it stops the fan actually providing what it needs to do. So I'm going to take all these back off and see what we've got. I've taken this off and it's just rubbing the edge here and here. So I think I just need to take some of these sharp edges off the end of this fan and we might be alright. I mean, it's very, very mild actually. So I'm going to get a file and yeah, just file down these edges a little bit and then put it back on and test fit it again. So I just used a file to take the edges off just here. Actually, there's a nasty little burr there, I just noticed. Just check the burrs, don't want them coming off. Right, so I'll just clean up the fan with a bit of rag, make sure there's no bits of aluminium there, and then retest fit this side and see what happens. Right, so I've had this side off 4 times, and I've eventually I took quite some drastic filing and really took kind of the edges of the fan off, and that seems to have resolved the problem. Now spins freely, no more catches. I was just not going quite aggressive enough before, so that's good news. Now I'm on to fitting all the nuts and bolts on the tinware. I've got 4 this side, 4 this side, 4 on top, another 2 kind of nut and bolts on both sides, and then 1, 2, 3 around here as well. I've already done 2 of those, so yeah, I'll crack on with that. There's one of the bolts that goes in here has this little attachment which is for the fuel pipe, fuel hose, sorry, to go through. So we're going to attach that on this one, he says, if he struggles to get it going. There we go, just needed a little bit of pressure on the tinware. So that's all the bolts now on. Fan spinning freely. Now got this piece which goes underneath, and these 2 go onto the sump. So I just need to take 2 of the nuts that I took off the sump off and just fix this in place under the cowling here. Okay, that plate's on. Now we've got just 2 bolts that go through here with some washers and a nut on the end. Going to go on the side, and I've got 1 the same the other side. Just keep making sure this spins nice. Yep, it does. So all the bolts are on there now. Now we've got some tinware that holds the dynamo in place. So we've got this piece of tinware that goes on here, and we've got this pin that slots through. So let's slot that in. So that's in place. We then have another piece of tinware goes in here. Try and work out how this goes. Okay, so I've put the pin back in on this bottom bit here. There's a small indentation, there's a hole in this piece of tinware that wraps around, and there's a small indentation in this. So I'm guessing they line up and wrap around, and that feels pretty good actually, and there's room now for the belt to run, which is good. So now get the bits that go underneath, which are these, and we can slot the threaded piece in here and the bolt through the bracket. Now we're going to work out how on earth we get one to meet the other. There we go, it's in. So it's 13, I think. Nice and tight, so our alternator held in place, which is great.